Are the Pittsburgh Steelers leaning toward taking a wide receiver in round one with the number 20 overall selection? That could quite possibly be the case. Welcome back to Mike Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. Let's dive into all the Steelers news of the day here on the channel. Thank you for stopping through. Don't forget to hit that like button as we dive in here with a guy from LSU. Could the Pittsburgh Steelers really be that head over heels for him? Brian Thomas Jr. Could he be that guy? Could he be that running mate of George Pickens? Is he a guy that would complement George Pickens in a big, big way? 6'3", 209 pounds, rated out okay at the combine, pretty high score. I think it was like 86 overall total score. But he played in 12 games, 9 starts. Guy that was decent at LSU. That was in 2021. In 2023, he was a third-team Associated Press All-American, a second-team SEC. Led the FBS with 17 receiving touchdowns and played in all 13 games with 12 starts. Big numbers for a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., guys. So are the Pittsburgh Steelers really into this guy? Are they really that head over heels for him that they would take him in round one, considering the other positional needs that they have? And one being the right tackle and one being the center. So you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and you ask yourself as a fan, is this the right move? And I think many fans want the Pittsburgh Steelers to go right tackle in round one to team up with Broderick Jones. But as I've said in prior shows, I really think the Pittsburgh Steelers are head over heels for Dan Moore Jr. They like him way more than we all do. And I think that they're really willing to bank on him becoming better. And I think that they are willing to chance him sliding over to the right tackle position and inserting Broderick back at left. I really think that that could be a major plan of theirs and a plan that they could really want to go with. I think they really have high hopes in Dan Moore Jr. So we'll continue to watch that situation, but the Pittsburgh Steelers may just be in the market for a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., a guy that could really replace somebody like you had in Deontay Johnson, someone you lost via trade to the Carolina Panthers. You look at Deontay Johnson and his ability to create separation, and then you compare that to Brian Thomas Jr., and I think you have something similar there, someone that could develop into that, somebody that does get good separation underneath. He has good, fast hands to where he can create that separation and uncover himself, especially underneath and at the and at the beginning of routes. I think that is a positive thing Brian Thomas Jr. can do, is create that separation, and you're looking for a guy like that. Brian Thomas Jr., again, 6'3", 209 pounds, not a monster guy, but he played a lot of football last year, and he scored a lot of touchdowns, and I think he has some nice speed, and I think he has the ability to replace that production of a Deontay Johnson. So when we look at Brian Thomas, is he kind of unpolished? Maybe, perhaps. Does he take some plays off sometimes? I think so. Does he get lazy in his route running and selling that scheme or whatever they're trying to do if the ball isn't coming to him? Yes, I do at times think that. And if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, are you willing to add another guy into that building that does those things? Deontay did those things. You caught George doing it at times last season. I think that George got over it later in the year, but you saw that out of George at times. And are you willing to do that if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, adding another guy into that building with that same type of attitude? And will Brian carry that into the NFL? Nobody knows. This is like rolling the dice and having a big gamble here. So we'll see how this goes, but Brian Thomas definitely has the intangibles that are needed to succeed at the NFL level, and enough tools in his toolbox that the coaches can really get some things out of him and really breed him into a quality NFL wideout. And another thing that's a positive, if you draft a young wide receiver in round one, you have that fifth-year option, that fifth-year control of that player. So that gives you 5 years with that player. But you look at George Pickens, who will be coming due next season, after next season, for a monster contract. George Pickens will demand a high dollar value. And if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, are you ultra committed to giving George that high value contract? Because you're going to have to do that. And if you're the Steelers, maybe you want to have a guy in place like a Brian Thomas Jr. already if something like that falls through, especially a Brian Thomas that would be going into year 2, whom would maybe possibly be able to step up into a larger role if there is a departure of George Pickens. We'll see. But the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely have options here. And I seem to think, though, that they need to go for that right tackle. I think that you need to solidify those trenches. And I think that that would be the best move. I think that that would be the highest value move the Steelers can make in round 1. And it still gives you the flexibility to possibly trade back and still get a quality guy there at the right tackle position. And then set your sights on that center spot in round 2. And possibly trade up for that and give yourself some more high value draft capital if you make that trade back with the Bills or the Cardinals or somebody of that nature. But hey, this guy, excuse me. Oh, we lost the light. But anyway, this guy had 17 touchdowns last year, guys. And I think that that's pretty special to have. A guy that really worked hard. He has definite big time potential, Brian Thomas Jr. Does. And the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't be wrong for taking him, but I think that there is greater pressing needs that need to be addressed, and Brian Thomas Jr. could definitely fill a big hole because the Steelers need that number 2 guy, that guy that could be that 1A type guy, a guy that could really take his game to the next level quickly and really contribute early and often. And that's something that the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely need to have coming out of this draft at a couple different positions, especially wide receiver and center. He needs to pick up his route pace at times, though. Like I said, he gets lazy, and you got to sell these routes in the NFL, guys. You really got to be able to make the defenders think you're doing something that you're maybe not, and you got to make the defenders think that they're passing when they're not, because you have to really help and open up the run game. Every point of the offense is an integral part of this whole puzzle here, and that this whole motor of an offense, you have to really do your job. Everybody has to be on point at all times. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers have those guys on the edges that aren't working 1,000% every play, it really starts to trickle down and show inside of the offense. You saw it last year whenever those guys would take plays off, running plays that could potentially maybe break out, just die because of the poor salesmanship of the wide receivers, the poor blocking, the real just letdown that they put on tape. And you can't have that. And I think if you've talked to Brian Thomas Jr. and you're considering him in round 1, you really need to get inside his head and say, look, man, we're looking for a Steeler type player that is going to bust his ass every play, man. You want a guy that works as hard as Hines Ward, and you want him to have the intangibles and the athleticism of a George Pickens. That's the type of guy you're looking for at a wide receiver spot. His focus, though, sometimes gets me too. So that focus, that laziness, I'm not sure if I'd be completely sold on him if the Pittsburgh Steelers took him in round 1. I'm not sure that I would say that it's a slam dunk, because maybe he gets lazy. Maybe he just comes into the league and is like, it is what it is. And just, if I'm not getting the ball, I'm not going to bust my ass. Now, when I'm getting the ball, though, I'm going all out. I'm going to try to make myself look good. We don't want those eyes. We don't want those guys that don't believe in the team. You got to have team guys that are going to bust their ass every play, man. And that is my real worry about a Brian Thomas Jr. I think, too, his size. He needs to gain a little bit of weight, put some muscle on. I definitely think that he's going to have a little bit of trouble being 6'3" and only 205 pounds. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit and get some of that muscle, because you're going to have that press man type coverage, and it's not going to be as easy to break in the NFL when you're dealing with pro corners and pro safeties. You're not going to be able to just break off of those with ease. You're going to have to really have that speed, agility, quick hands, and have a little bit of strength to be able to break those press coverage moments, and open yourself up for a guy like Russell Wilson to be able to deliver you the football. And I think that helps Russell Wilson, having a guy that can get some separation underneath. That's a big thing also. But Brian Thomas Jr., guys, could he be the number 1 overall pick for your Steelers? Could he be that guy here in 2024? And would you consider that a reach? Would you consider that a bad move? Do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers have other pressing needs that are far more concerning than getting the wide receiver? Do you think the Steelers could get a wide receiver later on in the draft? I seem to think so. That's where I seem to think things should go. Right tackle, center, wide receiver. That's how I think they should try to attack this if possible. Now, if players fall different ways, you're going to have to adjust that. And you always have to adjust in the NFL draft because things could become wild and crazy and wacky. We get that. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers know exactly what the holes are, and I think that they really need to attack them. And I'm not sure wide receiver is the best selection in round one. So we'll see how this goes. But make sure you put your comments in there. I want to hear what you guys think about the possibility of Brian Thomas Jr. being the Steelers' number one overall pick here in 2024 with the 20th overall selection. Or do you think it's wise for the Steelers to maybe trade back or go after that right tackle in round one? So let me know what you guys think, but I wanted to throw this possibility out there. It seems to really be gaining some steam, and I wouldn't find it to be too far-fetched if it really does take off and the Steelers do pick a wideout with the 20th overall selection. So, all right, guys, don't forget our live show tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we attack this draft week here on the show, Steel City Live, only on Mike Drop Sports. So make sure you come through there, hit the like button, share it, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're almost at 3,000. Let's get to that mark, man. We only need a little, about 150, something like that. We don't need very many. So let's hit that 3,000 mark, and then let's jump up to that 5,000 because that's where we're headed here before summer. So make sure you do those things for me, and I'd appreciate it. So until tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Steel City Live, I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports. Peace.